The mystery surrounding the little boy found in Alvarado Park in northeast Albuquerque has moved and upset many people, especially those people with children. So how did we talk to our kids? With some tips on those conversations, joining us now is Jacqui van Horn, an early childhood mental health consultant. Jacqui, thank you so much for joining us. So what is the most important thing parents need to think about when they start to notice that their child is stressed or has a lot of questions?
Most importantly is to notice that children really rely on us for their signals or their cues about how worried or scared to be. So they're looking to us to understand how scared to be. So we want to settle ourselves, be calm ourselves when we have these conversations with our children.
How would you know that your child is stressing? Because sometimes they might not talk to you about it.
Well, very young children, even before they can talk, will show us through their behaviors. They might get more clingy or have difficulty sleeping or change their eating patterns. And then as children get a little bit older, they can talk about what's troubling them or ask questions or share with you what they're hearing at school or some of the things their friends are telling them about what's happened at the park, for example.
Does it differ based on the age of the child, how we approach it?
It does, in that how much detail we share or what we go into with the child depends on their age and how they ask the questions. But the rule of thumb is still that we follow the child's lead. So we really listen for or watch for what the child is telling us they're interested in, because that's a real clue as to what they're able to understand and what they're able to take in.
Let's go ahead and talk about preschoolers and how we would talk to them and how we would approach it. First off, reassure them.
Really, preschoolers are looking for reassurance that they're going to be safe. They're wondering about their own personal safety when something like this happens. And so what we're wanting to let them know is that we can keep them safe as grown-ups, that's what grown-ups' job is to do, is to keep young children safe.
What about authorities? Another tip you have is tell them people are working to find out what happened.
Well, what they're wondering is what all this is about. You know, parks are really special and considered safe places for children, and so they're seeing that their world has been disrupted, and so they want to know what's going on. And we don't know right now what has happened, and so we have to be honest with children and say that we're all working hard to understand and to find out what happened. We don't want to embellish the story and tell them things that we don't really know, but that this is something serious, and we're trying hard to understand what happened.
Something interesting that you've talked about is don't use this as a teachable moment. That seems counter to what most parents would naturally want to do.
Right, because we think that if we can say, see, this is why I've been telling you, you have to hold my hand or don't run away from me in the park, that we can use this as an opportunity to tell children to reinforce the lessons that we've been trying to teach them. But what we know is that young children don't learn from a place of fear. We really want to take this opportunity to reestablish their sense of safety and trust in the world, and that we can really build on their sense of being safe and trustful in their adults, that we can keep them safe. And then in other times when they are feeling safe and secure, we can have those lessons at other times. But this is not the time to say, see, I told you so, or this is what happens to children who don't listen to their mommies, or whatever. We go back to the lessons of, I can keep you safe. This is what we do as grown-ups to keep children safe.
Let's move on to elementary age.
Yes.
Boy, there's just so much chatter on the playgrounds and the stories explode. So as a parent, what do you do with an elementary age child where a lot of times you're not in control of what's being talked about?
You're not, but you want to know what's being talked about if the child is interested in telling you. And so this is a balancing act that we play as parents all the time, where we're wanting to offer opportunities to talk. Sometimes just asking questions about, so is there a lot of talk about this at school, or have you heard anything new about what's been going on, so that we're opening the door or the window of opportunity for conversation, and then following the child's lead. We use as much language, the same kind of language the child uses, follow their lead in terms of the questions they're asking, but be careful not to, again, use too sophisticated of language or speculate too much. We don't want to give information that we truly don't have. We want to be as honest and concrete as we can in our answers.
We see a lot of images of adults crying and being very emotional about this subject on the air, even though it's not their child. How does that impact a child when they see an adult doing that?
You know, it varies from child to child so much. I think that, again, the message that we want to share is that this is something very serious, and that many people are very sad because Grown-ups are supposed to keep children safe, and something went wrong here. For some reason, this child wasn't kept safe, and we take this very seriously. But also the message has to be we're all working very hard to understand what went wrong and to figure this out. And I, as your parent or your trusted grown-up, am working hard. We keep you safe. This is what we do. And we can talk together about what we do as a family to stay safe without overemphasizing that the world is a scary or dangerous place, because we want our children to feel safe and trustful of the world so they can go out and learn and explore and really engage in the world.
All right, Jacqui van Horn, I thank you so much for helping us out with this. And of course, we will be tracking this story for you. Be sure to stay on KRQE News 13 and also here on KRQE.com.